Hey, welcome back. It's Mason and Remy on episode. I've lost track of episodes now at this point, but we are into the return to St. Louis area. In our last episode, we were talking all about Chicago and how we lost the morning show for a second time, third time. I'm not. I lost. I'm lost. I'm lost. Obviously, we're so deep into our story that I've lost track of the number of times that we've been taken off of mornings. But I think it was two, maybe three. But also the number of times we've been fired. So I think it's one at this point. How did we end up back in St. Louis on a station that we kind of ripped apart in our first time being on the air in St. Louis? And how did we end up rebuilding that destroyed property? And then eventually, like, how would Mason and Remy split? How, and in this episode, we'll talk about that and how we weren't supposed to be coming back to do country in St. Louis. We'll talk about that. And if I still have that tattoo, we'll get to all of it. We'll talk about it coming up. We're going to go through basically it's like 2018 to 2021 in this episode. We're going to talk about the return to St. Louis and coming back. And that was kind of a cool moment because we had already had this established reputation in St. Louis. And I know that you had a lot of friends over at the TV station. So this was a very cool kind of moment where we were welcomed back by not just the community when we came on the air and listeners, but also by our friends in the media. Do you have that clip?
I do.
Awesome.
Today on Show Me St. Louis,
We're back.
we're stepping into a local radio station to catch up with two personalities who are back on the air after a couple years away. What they missed most about St. Louis.
Hi guys, happy Friday Eve. I'm Dana Dean filling in for Heidi Glaus. Two popular radio DJs are back on the airwaves in St. Louis. I visited Mason and Remy at their new digs, New Country 92.3.
New Country 92.3.
They're back.
Nobody plays more New Country. It's Mason and Remy. So amazing to be back on the air in St. Louis.
Great to be back where the Cardinals are and Busch Stadium and Emos and Ted Drews.
After a couple years away, radio DJs Mason and Remy have returned to St. Louis on a new station.
Started in 2010 on a different station, and then we ventured up to Chicago for a little bit and decided we liked it better in St. Louis. So here we are back home.
Tell me some of the artists playing Hollywood Casino Amphitheater.
Oh my gosh, Chris Stapleton, he's there. He's got his beard. Rascal Flatts is coming as well. So I melt every time I look at you this way. Is that?
Didn't have to make eye contact with me when you said it, but it's fine. I suppose that's fine. Remy is the little brother that I never had. And I am the older brother that he never wanted.
Even though they're still the same, they have noticed some changes about St. Louis.
The arch looks a little different. The arch grounds are totally different now, but it looks great.
Good to have you back, guys. You can listen to Mason and Remy weekdays.
Ugh. So a lot of people don't know, but when they come in to do a package like that, we're not on the air at that point. I think she might have come like noon-ish, and so they'll be like, just talk, and I'm in my video mind going, they're not going to use any of the audio here, so I'm like, Chris Stapleton with his beard and Rascal Flatts with I melt, and it's just weird conversation, but
And they used all that audio. Yeah,
they used all of it. Yeah.
There's a moment early in there, if you look again, I'm holding up the end of my headphones because they're not plugged in. And because we're just talking, and like you said, we're acting it out. Every time a TV station comes into a radio station, the camera guy gets the shots of the VU meters doing this, and then us just pushing a button and sliding up a thing, and then you need us going in front of the mic. Just find a country song, throw it under there. We're good. Put that on the TV. And that's how media is made.
Yeah, we tried to fight that for many years. I feel like, all of the first and second episode were us trying to fight this stereotype of the country music listener. Yeah. And so TV hasn't really caught up with that, and TV is a whole different game, but they always want to put those twangy violins and fiddles and banjos underneath whatever country story they're doing. So Ugh,
remember a number of
cringe.
times people referred to what we worked with or in as country and Western.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
All the it's my favorite genre of music, Western. No one says or does that anymore. And that's like a testament to how kind of somewhat out of touch people are around different genres. And that's it's nobody's fault. These things are fluid and they change, but like talk about a stereotype. Oh, you guys play country and Western? Why, yeehaw, that's right there, partner. I do. Like because you can tell that's who I am.
Yeah.
It's wild. And yeah, you could definitely see in the beginning of our coming to St. Louis, like we were fighting those stereotypes and we were still battling. And I feel like at this point it was just like, whatever. You know what I mean? Let them, if that's what they want to do, fine. If that's the box they want to put us in, okay. We'll just have to make sure to show them that our box isn't quite big enough for what we're doing. But that's kind of where I feel like we're here now. You know what I mean? There's no box that we're in, and we're able to kind of talk about stuff that's not just that. And I'm finding the enjoyment in that. So as we were wrapping up the Chicago situation, I think that, and in the last episode, I remember saying we had a couple of prospects. St. Louis was not one of them right away. Do you remember how long it was before we eventually were approached by the boss that hired us in St. Louis?
Oh, I remember texting one of the VPs pretty quickly after we got let go in Chicago. I just got this random idea, and I texted this guy, and he had said, let me talk to some people and we'll see. But I think it was all of probably 3 months before we got an offer. And I think we had 6 months of severance at Chicago. In Chicago, I think we off the bat we negotiated for that because there's a little thing in your contract that's called a non-compete, which they're not going to be holding up much longer federally. So, and honestly, non-competes in this business and in most business where it's a specialized thing are kind of a joke. If you ask me, it's just like, okay, so you're saying that I can't use my skill set anywhere in the vicinity. I am being forced to move my family or forced to seek unemployment for the next however many months. So the plan was always to negotiate for how long is the non-compete. Well, if you're going to make me, if I can't work in this market for 6 months, then you're going to pay me for 6 months. And that's kind of what we did. So that was a longer term agreement that we had there. But
I think it was like it was part of the union situation, right? Like that they had
Yeah.
negotiated for because it was a union station in Chicago, and conveniently enough, this station that we were just coming back to in St. Louis was also a union station. So it really worked out in that way that we didn't have to lose our union status. And because after a certain amount of time, you get more benefits that you're in the union. So that was a positive for us. But yeah, we had a few other. I think we had some discussions with folks. I mentioned Milwaukee. I think there was some talks about a few other cities. And I feel like we were like, not, and no disrespect to anybody in Milwaukee. It wasn't our first choice. So we wanted to entertain some other offers before we go, okay, this is, what we have. And we did. And we heard from the guy that hired us in St. Louis, by the way, who I loved the entire time we worked with. I felt like he really worked well with us. He inspired and creatively made it feel like we were worth, you know what I mean? Made it feel like he enjoyed and was familiar with our content, which would be a stark contrast to where we would end this adventure. But we'll get there one step at a time. So we were hired. The conversations about coming back to St. Louis were, I remember specifically getting ready for an interview and starting to email other stations. Like I remember emailing, I want to say it was like Y98 or somebody, like the program director there, because we had sent our tape and resume, right, to a couple places in St. Louis, and that was one of them where I was like, I wanted us to cross over from country to a bigger audience, because again, no disrespect to the audience, but you're in a niche, right? Like country music is a niche genre. Where we have a potentially limited audience, and some of the content we're doing may not land with that audience, or they may not understand. But here we are for 8 years. I'm rapping on country stations. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, Sam Hunt was the enemy.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like you don't know. I'm sorry. People don't know what they want. You know what I mean? We think we do, but I don't think we do. So we personally, I wanted us to expand out to a new format, and that I think was part of the plan when we first started talking about coming back to St. Louis. It was about coming back on. What would you classify that station as? Adult contemporary?
Yeah, kind of a play anything kind of station, but not, if that makes like within some confines.
I feel like there's
But
two of these stations. There's a top 40 that'll play that risky stuff, that boom boom house club, maybe some rap, but then there's that alternative top 40 station that will just play like all the hits that won't offend the people coming into your business.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's older songs, maybe a couple of the bigger, newer songs, probably with the rap cut out because we're kind of getting toward the South. You know what I mean? I experienced that a lot while I was here in Central Illinois before coming to country music. Like we'd be playing pop songs without Ja Rule on it. And I'm like, why are we playing J-Lo singing a hook for 2 minutes? What are we doing here? Testing, ratings, lame people.
hmm
Not in my town, not in our town.
yeah.
I'd say, right?
So
But
I
it was
think
in that town.
we were under the impression that we were coming on to a different station in St. Louis. Like initially we had talked to all the people about doing afternoons on not the country station that we ended up on, but a different one. It wasn't until our final offer call that the GM was like, "Hey, what do you guys think about doing all the same things you're doing, but we put you on the country station?" And I think it to me there was this, oh man, and then there was the other part that was like, well, we already know everything, so
Yeah.
like
Less
we
of a
know this
challenge,
format.
maybe.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much less of a challenge.
Yeah. And I think I would have loved to have seen that come to fruition, to see what we could be doing in that, being given that push and put into that station situation. I would have loved to have seen how that played out. But instead, we were, kind of put into the box that we were already put in as a country show, and they wanted us to continue to do that. And so we did. Well, we accepted the offer. I very much remember going to eat at what's the fancy mall town? Well, not the fancy mall, West County, but like the fancy.
Ladue,
Yeah. Wasn't it called? Didn't they have a name? I forget what it was called.
Frontenac, the
Thank
mall.
you.
Yep.
We were in the Frontenac and we were eating good. We were at a Mexican place. I feel like, did we go to a Mexican place?
We did.
And we sat down and we talked to this company that, told us they were a talent first company and they were going to work with us to develop this show. And again, it's that we want you guys here for 20 years. We don't, we are going to set you up for success. It's the same thing that you get told in this business, to get you to come to the team, right? Like, please, no, come over here. We got great talent fees for endorsements and live events, and you have ratings bonuses that you will never in the world be able to hit. But, there are ratings bonuses that we have completely set up, so you will never mathematically be able to hit them. But we have ratings bonuses, which, by the way, are completely impossible. But we have ratings bonuses.
Yeah.
So, make sure you guys come through. You get no say in that structure, by the way, and you won't hit them. But this is a benefit. We determine that bonus structure. Please sign here. Sorry, I'm salty about it because I only now see how things can be set up for you to not succeed. You know what for lack of a better term, it's pomp and circumstance to get you to sign, right? Like, no, this is all great. Come on. We're a talent first company. Here are the bonuses. Like, oh, that all looks great. Yeah, let me sign. And then in the end, I don't know if we ever hit any ratings bonuses. And it was not what it was sold as, at least. But to be fair, lots changed between 2018 and 2021. And we'll dive into that a little bit here. But first, I want to ask Remy, Chicago was the first time you got fired, like ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
How were you feeling? Because I know I know I struggled after that. Like when you work your whole life to get to that big market and then you falter, you lose it. I know I had my struggles, but this was your first time ever being fired, period. What was that like for you?
It was tough. It was tough because I feel like I I had not only let myself down, I've got 2 children at this point and a wife and a life, and we're doing the thing. And I feel like, they're all depending on me to make the money. So there's that part of it. That's tough too. Uh, and I remember vividly, like, because you had been through this before, I think you're a little bit more lax about it. And I was like, we need to find another job like now. Like and you're like, dude, they gave us 6 months. Like, let's kind of like, let's wait it out a little bit.
We got a break.
And I think that the hardest part about all of this was moving the family at such a crucial time in the children's development. We got newborns, we got tiny little kids running around, on top of like trying to move a whole house of stuff in a couple weeks. I vividly remember we hired some movers to come over and just move boxes and things from our house to pods. We didn't have enough pods. I remember like going into these rooms and seeing these kids. They were essentially like 17, 18-year-old kids, first job type of situation, just like on their phones, and it's all paid by the hour. And I think it took them like 8 hours to get through everything. Left this scathing review on their page, like, these guys wasted so much time, all the things. I walked into our pantry, because we had a nice walk-in pantry at the time, and just cried. I cried my face off. I was like, gosh dang, it's so much, so quick. There's so many different moving parts, making sure that everybody is even keel and status quo through this whole thing. That which does not kill you makes you stronger. Firmly believe that. And that was probably the lowest low there, was just getting all the stuff from Chicago to back to St. Louis, and then finding a home in St. Louis and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was tough. And it was also tough to see that they put on the syndicated show, that had replaced us before again. And that was kind of like a kick him while he's down kind of thing. But that's just this industry is ruthless and out there to make or save a buck where they can. So
I mean, it's all they can do. They're having trouble making a buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From what I can tell, I've not heard anybody say, we are making money. Radio's doing great. You know what? When people are questioning, is that still a thing? You know what I mean? Like
radio? Question mark?
You do that. That's a job, because it's turning into less and less of one for a lot of folks. And the writing's on the wall for a lot of people, unfortunately, that we all, as a music distribution, like, product, we all know where to find the music we want. And it's not sitting around and waiting for 4 hours for the song that you want to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an on-demand world. We don't do that anymore. And I still don't think radio understands that, but I also don't think they have the money to invest in figuring out a new way. So we are just seeing, this happen.
Yep. But
while they cannibalize themselves by giving themselves more jobs.
Yeah. I will say that and this is fast forward to like just a month ago, when I saw one of those VPs post some sort of focus group result, and it was like, Gen Z thinks that radio is cool, kind of like cassette tapes. And I was like, I got 2 Gen Zers sitting around me on this project that we're doing, and I was like, hey, what do you think about radio? Don't listen to it. Hey, what do you think about radio? Nope, Spotify. And it's like, oh, my sample of 2 says they don't think it's cool, but
100%.
they keep on doing it. Like, we would have meetings and meetings and meetings, and it would say 99% of people are still listening to terrestrial radio. 99% of people love radio. And I was like, what on what planet are you living? Like, and it makes sense to me now, because these focus groups and these companies that do surveys and stuff, they thrive off of radio. So of course they're going to tell radio that they're doing well.
Yeah.
They're going to come back and they're going to get more surveys. And then they can go out to their advertisers and say, hey, radio's doing so well. It's going to take like 3 to 6 months for this campaign to really kind of kick off. And I know that digital advertising, you can see who clicked, when they clicked, how they clicked, what time they clicked, all the information. Did it convert in like seconds? But radio is where it's at.
Right. propaganda first, right?
Yes.
Like just sales pitch propaganda garbage. And it sucks because I feel like we had good relationships with a lot of those folks, and they're just fighting their fight for them too. They're probably like, I'm 2 years from retirement, man. I'm just trying to ride this out. But I feel like that's the problem now, is that everybody's just trying to ride it out. Nobody actually cares about the product they're putting out there. I see the same people in charge of things for years while numbers do this.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry. Oh, I guess I'm the guy you fire when things go like this. Okay. But it's still going to go like this. And you're still, okay. Yeah. No, keep blaming us. And it just seemed wild. So while Remy's coping with like his first ever being fired, I remember having conversations with you where you were like, I don't feel good about this. And me going like, if we're going to do this, this might happen a couple more times. Like, don't get too caught up in it. We have had a good and been very lucky in our career to have, got the jobs we've got and not had to really fight to find that next job. And I don't know if you still feel that way after this era ended, but I saw it, interestingly enough, and I'll probably talk about it in the next episode, as a weight off my shoulders. But we'll get to that. And I also want to talk a little bit about some stuff you just mentioned there that will come back again in this story. The feeling of investment into what you're doing, the feeling of the people you work with caring about the product, and how that how we lost that. Not us, but like our I don't know, company, our format, our building. We'll get to all that. I know how I felt when I lost the job in Chicago, and similarly, I know I cried. I cry a lot. I'm a big crier. I'm an emotional man. So I have no doubt that I cried. I know I flipped out. I know I lost it. Like this was everything, and it's gone. And it's blamed myself through a lot of the meetings of everybody bumping heads with everybody. I felt like I had to do a lot of adjustment on the person I am and who I was. And so I felt like I was working really hard at it. It still wasn't enough. I had gone to therapies. I had gone to talk to different counselors and people about how you handle this. And we're coming into a new era too, where it feels like in the past, and this is how I learned when I was young, like my dad yelled, I listened. And that's just what I knew. And so sometimes I yelled. And I understand that's not the path, right? Like I had to do a lot of learning. But as I mentioned previously too, I was given no leadership training, no management experience. Somehow put in a place or in a position to be somewhat of a leader, but given no support on how to lead or the tools needed to be a leader, coaching on how to lead, managers saying, oh, this is how you would do that, growth. I feel like a lot of the time, if it didn't have to do with what we were saying on the show, nobody talked to us about it, right? Like how we work as people or how we as a team worked together. I don't feel like that was focused upon. But we had perceptuals about the things we did on the air, and we had all this different research done about the music tests and all that stuff. I had just moved from Bolingbrook to Naperville in February, and we were fired in April, if I recall correctly, right? So I had literally just signed a 1-year lease and just moved into a new house with my family, and was very well. And when I say with my family, I was still long distance from my wife and Keaton, who were going to school in Normal, Illinois. Keaton's going to school in Normal. Alicia at this point had quit working because we were doing okay, and she could focus on taking care of Keaton, and the travel between Chicago and Normal is this much versus Normal and St. Louis is twice the distance. So it was a lot more easy for us to negotiate as a couple. But as Chicago ended, I remember crumbling. I remember not knowing what I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure I had a similar experience with moving, folks. This was when so Uber and like the gig economy was just kind of kicking up, and they had like those folks you could just call that would pack stuff. And then there was a different group that you would like drive, or what we did is we got a U-Haul, and we had a group of guys come out and pack pack it into the, we didn't have the strength, like myself and my tiny wife would not be able to lift couches and beds. So I hired some help from this app. Those guys ended up stealing so much stuff. I gave them a bike, but they stole my Sonos speakers, a guitar, so much stuff. I vividly remember saying, I'd like to get you guys a tip. Can you take me up to the ATM? I got in the car with them, and there was a blunt in a bottle of wine in the driver's cup holder. So they had downed a bunch of wine and smoked a blunt before they came to move my stuff. Hey, you do what you got to do. I'm not hating on functioning alcoholics and those who choose to partake and maybe function better under the influence. You do what you do, but at least cover it up when I'm coming into your car, for crying out loud. No effort. And so then in the unpacking, we did the same in St. Louis. My couch, gigantic sectional that we had, ruined because these guys just pushed it into the house. You know what I mean? Like, I had so much stuff ruined in that. I had lost so much of my confidence in what we were doing, having lost like the biggest city that I'd ever work in, and you know, possibly the biggest opportunity that I'd ever have. Fumbled the bag. You know what I mean? It went wrong. A lot of times people say you be true to yourself, fight for what you believe in. And a lot of times I felt like that's what I was living. I knew the vision I had in my head. I know when we talked to Bama, she was like, I felt so bad. I'm sorry that we made this hard for you. And I know that we've talked about that, but I had this vision in my head and I was like, I know what I want. They tell you to chase your dream. I stuck to it. Maybe I stuck to it too hard. That's the hard line to go, like, maybe I should just let this happen. Or maybe I know what I'm talking about. And I felt like all through the Chicago time, I was like, I'm not willing to lay down. And that maybe bit me. You know what I mean? I fight back on a lot of stuff because I feel like I'm right. And I have a very logical mind where if you can convince me, okay, like I feel like I'll go, okay, yeah, no, let's do that. Let's try that. And maybe that's just now in retrospect. Maybe I wasn't there when we were there, but I felt like we were trying to do all the right things and we were being blocked from our approach to the news, to the videos we wanted to make, to the show we wanted to put on the air, to the content that they wanted us to do. Maybe you guys should try this bit that everybody's doing. Maybe you guys should do fake bits. Maybe you guys should go to our iHeart thing more and talk more about the things we're doing. We're like, well, that's the opposite of the show. That's selling promotions. And you can get a liner jock to do that. You can pay somebody too much money to say those things uncreatively when we are creative and are doing things, making things. Like, look at these videos we're doing. We're on an elevator with a guy, or we're doing all these different fun things that people are talking about. And then no, you're out. It was almost the same pattern. Boots on the ground, fight the ground fight, and then let those other guys come in and then they cut us and save a bunch of money. So for a couple of years, they paid us to fight the ground battle. And then they just brought in drones to fly over and drop bombs on people because it's cheaper. The way of the business, maybe. Yeah. I know I definitely had a hard time with it. And I wasn't sure that, I mean, at this point, I don't think I had any thoughts other than radio. Like, what was I going to do other than radio? I think I started thinking about what the next job was going to be. And I was like, I got 6 months. It's all good. I'm chilling. But Remy was like, yo, we should try and get another job. But we had our differences as well. And I remember we specifically had this conversation, like, I mean, maybe one more try, right? Like maybe one more. And if it doesn't work out here in St. Louis, I think that you and I probably thought that you and I would be the reason that it didn't work out in St. Louis. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But I think that was the mindset at that time, was like, well, if we can't get along, then this is it. Last hurrah for Mason and Remy. We'll give it a shot. And that's what we went to do. So you get Dana Dean and the fine folks at KSDK. I know that you had a great relationship. Remy, a great networker. Me, an introvert who wants to talk to no one about anything. So it was good that Remy had that connection. He was able to get those folks to kind of like come through. And we then started our, I guess, reintroduction into St. Louis. We wanted to execute the same game plan, right?
It felt good too. It felt nice because it felt like we were supported. And dude, we got $2,000 to buy desks and a gear for our office.
We had a budget.
We had a budget for like sit stand desks and microphone arms and microphones and all these different things so that we could podcast from our office. And I thought that was so cool. And it was just a change of pace. It was like, oh my gosh, you have like extra money for us to use? Yeah, just expense it. Put it on the expense report. It's good. It's good. We got new computers. We were Mac guys, and the building was not a Mac building. So, we were very much, Mac people, and they bought us computers, and it just felt good because we were supported. And they had been known for video production. They had a couple of video guys. One of them still there. But we worked so well with those guys. Like, they were just us. They were our people. And probably more so your people, Mason. You guys would hang out. You would end up hanging out, outside of the studio.
That's right. I forgot. We had a D&D podcast during this.
You did.
Era. Me and those guys were going to start a D&D podcast, and we started doing some of that stuff. It didn't come to fruition. I think the pandemic happened, but we'll get to that too. But yeah, those guys were great. They had a whole video department. They actually had an online marketing team. Like, it was the first time where we had people that understood how social media worked. Remember, in our last job in the third biggest city in the country, they came to us and said, make a viral video, which is a clear, like, you might as well just say, hey, how does the internet work? Remember that Today Show clip with the little @ sign?
What's the internet?
What is that? Yeah, that's what it felt like
internet?
when we were talking to people there. And then here, this was a breath of fresh air. We had people who understood the internet. And yeah, that video team, shout out Ben and Joey. All the love in the world for those guys. They understood what we were doing. They lived in this generation, and they consumed content like we did and like we knew listeners did. So now begins the content dump from this era.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of videos to look through. Award-winning videos. Videos, like you said, we got budget for videos. Some of them, I'm pretty sure you'll see some budget in this Ted Drew's video. You can get a view of how much budget we had in some videos versus others. Because when you compare like Ted Drew's to the Cardinal Day, night and day.
Yeah.
And you'll see that. So we wanted to take the approach we did before, which was start making fun content, get on these streets in front of the St. Louis audience, and tell them we're back. And we're back to do what we did. Remember that old station? We're about to kill them. Because they're not here anymore. It's all recorded from somewhere else. They did they took everything that we did and flipped it upside down and thought that the consumer would still take that and eat and digest that. But it's clear to see that when you're no longer talking about what's going on in St. Louis, except for a small, bit while everybody's at work, from somebody who's limited on how much time they have to talk, it's not the same. And the ratings changed. And let's dive in. Where do you want to start? There was so much.
I'll start with this one where we announced that we're going on tour. Are you ready?
Yeah. Can you pause? I'm sorry. Can you pause real quick before we go anywhere? This is such a small joke. We did so many small things that nobody sees, right? Nobody saw. Nobody zoomed in and saw that said, Remy, do not answer. And it had like a gun next to his head. And then when he answered, he's like face in front of it. There are so many small meta jokes. And it's funny, I got a text from you last night and my wife goes, who's that? Remy, do not answer. It still says that in your
That's hilarious.
I don't want to give out your phone number, but I think you might be able to see.
Awesome.
It still says Remy, do not answer. From this bit,
that moment
was when we did this. So okay. And Paula Cole is your ringtone.
That's awesome.
Hey Mason, it's Remy.
I know, it's FaceTime.
We're back in St. Louis and we're going on tour.
What do you mean tour?
We gotta let everybody know that we're back. We're live and local in St. Louis. We gotta hit up all the hot spots.
Everything is 20 minutes away in this town. It's the shortest tour ever.
Come on, man. The band is back together.
Okay, we do one song a week. The Friday Party Jam does not make us a band.
And second, we don't need to tour this town that we call home.
Whatever. Pessimistic Paul. I got a bus. Are you nearby? I can show you.
Yep. Right next.
Band is back together. We're back. Outro this time.
Yeah, nice. No, that was the first, I think, of a couple of videos from the tour, right? Because we went to a few different places. First off, well written and well performed. Can I just say? I think it was a funny bit. It was our like reintroduction, right? Like we're back and we're here and we're going on tour. So we wanted to start releasing these videos. Do you have more from that? Because I think that was.
Don't have any more from that tour, but
oh, gotcha.
Yeah, there's a couple more videos where I pull up in this old crusty Ford Expedition that the station had. I think it had like 235,000 miles on it or something. And at the time, the morning show had their faces plastered across this giant truck that we had. And I was like, if that ever happens to us, which it won't because I won't allow it. But I printed off pictures of us on just paper and taped them to the side of the Ford Expedition.
That was the budget that we had at the time. And so, yeah, sometimes we had a budget, sometimes we didn't. I definitely remember, I feel like there was a broken seat in that thing too. But this station had 15 vehicles for the previous morning show. For that morning show that we had kind of toppled. I think at this point, they were 2 or 3 morning shows since then when we came back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And then they did a bunch of moving of people around because we started in afternoons when we came back, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did not take mornings right away when we came back to St. Louis. But we had a bunch of different like ideas. And since we were able to not be exhausted from working mornings, we were able to get more videos done and do more things during regular human hours. What do you want to do next? Where do you want to look next? I know we've got a number of different videos to dive into. Do you want to look at like a Remy's package, or do you want to look at?
Why don't we do Ted Drew's? This is like the first video that kind of had multiple prongs to it. It's very local. We basically wanted to test to see which Ted Drew's location gives more, like who has the heavier pour. So we went out, and obviously I had to be in disguise. So
It's Mason and Remy had an experiment.
Mason, you know how much my wife loves the treats. She loves dessert.
Sure.
We ended up at 2 different Ted Drew's locations a couple weekends ago, and I noticed that one of the Ted Drew's seemed to have a little bit heavier of a pour. It's science.
Well, do it.
Oh.
So what we're gonna do is we're going to show up at the Chippewa.
I remember being live on the air for this. I remember I had a Comrex thing in the car with me, and I remember going live on the air with you. This was during the show.
Okay, yeah, and you had the video guys with you, as well, taking you from location to location. So we were doing this live on the air. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that people never think about when they're doing this kind of stuff is you have to have a disguise, like a legit disguise. So, and I'm transformed. Hey y'all, give me some custard. Hey, I would like 3 concretes. I would like a vanilla regular concrete, a cookies and cream concrete, and I would also like a cookie dough concrete, all regular size, please. Thank you. Does this mustache look real? No, it doesn't. Okay.
We don't have to go through the whole video, but
no, it was good. First off, probably the most journalistic work going on in the media. Right at that time.
Mhm.
But also, do you remember the findings? Was it Chippewa gave more? I think it was
Grand.
the other location, the non-main location, the satellite location that most people don't go to because it's in somewhat of a sketchy place.
Yeah. The lead up to that was fake. So we didn't actually, there was never we didn't go to both locations in one weekend at any point, but it was a good tie-in. And I told you I'd be transparent with you.
Wow.
So that was embellished.
I
apologize for that.
I'm having mixed emotions about my existence, but I appreciate your honesty. But yes, I can also confirm a lot of topics were bullshit.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Probably still are. If you listen to your favorite show, it's probably still bullshit. But that's okay because it's entertainment, right? Like don't walk around thinking superheroes and zombies and Game of Thrones. That's bullshit too. It's entertainment. Like, you know what I mean? Don't think it's higher entertainment than anything else for somebody just because you don't like it. It's still entertainment and it's still, I don't know, content at this point. Trust me, I've watched a lot of streams and seen a lot of not content. So let's not exactly say that the bar is up here for making shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me at this time, I feel like coming into St. Louis or coming back to St. Louis and having these production guys and being able to submit a request to the video team to go out and shoot something, they shoot it, they take it, they edit it, they make it, and then we put it up was like dream come true for me because I always love the ideation of something and I love thinking of how this could be, but then working with a couple other creative people and then them taking the rest of the package and just making it was huge. That diminished over time as those guys became less and less available for us, but that was like peak for me being the video guy who in the beginning of this thing was complaining about how our videos weren't in HD, and now all of a sudden I feel like I've got a little bit of a team when it comes to the video thing, and that's awesome. So the production value in this era, at least the first part of it, it goes up tremendously. And I don't know if you remember Remy's package of the week that we played in the last episode, but I'm going to play you one of the first ones that we did here, and the production has gone up immensely at this point. So let's watch Remy's package of the week.
Welcome to Remy's package of the week. Today on the show, my co-host Mason.
Hey! I have a surprise.
Okay.
2 packages
of the week.
Remy's package. Remy's package of the week.
Come on in. Let's open these up.
I don't know which one to go with first because you need one for the other, and I didn't want to get you one without the other.
Okay. I like 2 packages. 2 packages is way better than one. We're gonna do this one first?
Looks like it.
Okay. This package is boxy.
I've heard that. Sharp edges.
Sharp edges.
Any ideas? Any guesses?
Music box.
Nope. Swinging a mistrike one, Remy.
It would be funny if my package was in a box. Oh, this is crayons.
For package number 2.
No. Is this a coloring book?
I think at this point I realized that somebody else had already gotten me this, and I was like, "Oh no, he did the same thing." I think Patrico might have gotten me this coloring book.
That's right. Also, shout out to the Twitch shirt that I'm trying to wear so that people know I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm like, please come watch me not do country things. Please come watch me do anything else.
Get that Amazon Prime. Get that Amazon Prime.
Trying, man.
It's out of here! That's a home run. It's a good coloring book. It is a quality coloring book, and it's one
it's not good.
that I thought you'd need to color. Maybe we can go through. Did somebody else get him the Farting Animals coloring book? Who else searched gag gift on Amazon?
Take a wild guess.
So it increased in production value, I think, at that point. They just kept getting better and better. And still, not a whole lot of people watched Remy's package of the week, but it was always fun for me.
Now, I want to give these guys their flowers first because Ben and Joey, I feel like anybody can have a process. Anybody can have a ticket. Anybody can have a team. But we knew that these guys understood the assignment every single time and we could trust them. So don't just go, oh, we got a team and we got a process. We're good. No, it matters who's in those positions. And if you, sorry, I started thinking, this is a baseball bat with some spikes in it. If you're going to overwork talented people and underpay them, they will find a better job. Moving on. We have a lot of those moments where we would not have made awesome stuff if it wasn't for some of this team. I have 2 highlights that are in my head because of that. A third that requires some very special. It was a long-term project that took a lot, but I want to get into a couple of the quick things before we dive into that. Do you have the toddler challenge handy? Because I know this was a video that kind of went. This was a viral thing that was happening at the time. And this was something we did as well. You may not, and some people are like, I'm not going to put photos of my children on the internet. Meanwhile, we were like, yo, Remy, you want to make a video with the kids? You cool with that? Right? You cool with that? And I got to tell you, I felt uncomfortable the whole time, but also like, I would probably do that if I had, I would. I mean, I did. Like Keaton was in Family Casts. We got him tickets to meet 21 Pilots, got him a Nintendo Switch and surprised him with it. I made content out of all that stuff. So listen, it's a give and a take, right?
Yeah.
It's an investment in a multiple levels. But explain this trend that was happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, anybody who's in media, or at least on the radio side of things, you'd see a trend and you participate in it. That's what Shit St. Louisans say was. That was a trend that was going around at the time, and we made it our own and we banked off of it. So in the same vein, I did the toddler challenge with my kids, who are at the prime age for this, where you basically fill a bowl with candy, you set it out on the table, you say, don't touch this until I come back. You leave the room for some extended period of time, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and see on the video if they touched it. And I think my kids had had awesome reactions. So we'll go ahead and play that.
Why don't you? I love them.
They're so young.
I know, right? And they like speak in unison. It's so funny. Do they do that still? Do they and again, how old are they here and how old are they now?
Oh man, I think they're maybe 5 and 3 at this point, and they're 9 and 7 now. So
okay,
I should do it with them now.
That's actually funny.
Follow up. So we put the bowl of M&Ms in front of me.
Oh, hey, hang on. I need to go to the bathroom really quick, okay? Don't touch them until I get back. Okay? All right. I'll be right back.
Okay.
What a test.
Do with some M&Ms? Don't touch them. I don't know what.
Adorable.
This is still their personalities, where Leo is very much a rule follower and is like, don't touch them. Don't do that.
So that's funny. M is the rule breaker?
Yeah.
When Dad gets back. Yes.
Do you think she's more like you or more like Lauren?
Oh, she's more like me for sure.
Did you eat any M&Ms?
No.
You saved them all?
No. What are you trying to do?
All right, well, you can have some now. Go for it.
Are we going to eat all of them for an M&M?
No, here, I'll give you a little bit. There you go.
So 2 things before we move off this video. The most comments were about the plastic covering the chairs, which is very typical in any kind of viral video or any video that you've got. Everybody looks at your background. They don't care about what's going on in the foreground. They just care about what's going on in the background. So we covered our chairs because they were white. I don't know why we got white chairs with small children, with this like plastic covering that you would find at like a nursing home. And so we got so much flack for that. But there's also the people that were like, oh, they're smart because kids spill on everything. And the other one was we went away for too long. So I think I was gone for maybe 4 minutes before I came back. It was like torturous to these kids.
These poor kids.
Yeah, but it was but that was just one of those trends that we hopped on, and it did well. So
they're doing okay. Those kids are good. Those are good kids. Yeah. And do you still have those chairs, and are they still white?
We do have the chairs. The plastic was removed long ago, and they are not exactly white anymore.
Not exactly. They're off-white.
They're off-white. Yeah. They're aged.
It's ice cream. No, that's lovely. And part of the fun of, I think, following our journey has been seeing the families form and seeing, the kids grow up and seeing, when I look back yesterday, I guess I say yesterday because it was yesterday where I was reviewing our Chicago episode. I saw a picture. There was Alicia and Keaton came in on a family cast, and I was like, it feels like it was so long ago, but it wasn't. But it was. So much time has come and passed and come and gone from there. But our video content was huge for us the first time we were in St. Louis, and we wanted to make sure it was huge the second time. So some of the big beats that we had for video, when Remy said we stepped up our video game here, and again, it was really thanks to guys like Joey and Ben in that video department who knew it. So historically, as we started, Remy, video, editing, performing, directing, it's all him. I'm like a player there too in coming up with it, but like it's mostly him and a little bit of me on the pre side, because when it all got done shooting, like I couldn't do much more. I started thinking about how we were going to integrate it on the air. At that point, it was on Remy to edit and find all the different pieces that would make it something great. Now we're coming to St. Louis. We have 2 more big brains who understand shot composition and lighting and how to set ourselves apart from Scotty Too Hottie on his iPhone doing a live stream. You know what I mean? Like there's a thin line between I'm somebody on a Facebook Live and somebody who actually professionally creates content. And we knew what it took to set ourselves apart from whoever's like, oh, I'm just out here live. And so go, oh, I dropped my phone. Oops. Anybody who spends 10 minutes before the live stream starts and does this. You know what I'm saying? Like they just look at themselves in the live stream. Like, are you putting on a show? You looking in the mirror? What are you doing? I'm sorry, I got hypercritical now. I'm getting salty. You take a step back. You do you, and if you enjoy it, keep doing it. All right, I'm back. We really enjoyed making this video stuff, and I enjoyed writing things, and I think Remy, you enjoyed at the time editing and directing and you know, flexing those video muscles. But it's so great to have guys who can help you. I mean, like part of me wants to save the big video that we won an award for. So let's look at a couple other things first.
Yeah.
That we got their help on. Like Randy and Marv at the movies were a couple of characters that we created who were movie critics, and they were going to review all the Oscar nominated films. Now, again, we were in the union, SAG-AFTRA, so we were getting screeners for all these movies, and we could speak to them. I think it was the first time I ever felt like I knew what I was talking about when it came to Oscar-nominated films.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was very funny to create these characters and do these little short videos in character to kind of talk about the movies. Which I don't know how many you had, because there was like 5 or 6 of them. Didn't we do 5 or 6 of them?
We did 2 seasons. We did.
We did 2 years.
Yeah. Let me. I'll play this one. This is one of my favorites.
Oh. Marv, you're in the wrong seat. What are you doing? We're always up here in the front row.
The footsteps. Any normal person watching this is mad.
Yeah.
Imagine our boss watching this like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Every row. We haven't even started yet, by the way. Hi.
Vice.
Yes, we've been talking about the 2019 Oscar-nominated films. This is the one where Batman is Dick Cheney. And if I can be honest, this movie from the Hollywood elite, the leftist, this movie is a disgrace to the Dick Cheney name and a disgrace to the Cheney family, if you ask me.
Isn't he the one who shot that guy in the face?
Yes, hunting is fun. He was also the Vice President of the United States. Show some respect. Thank you for watching Marv and Randy at the movies. Sorry if I got a little worked up. It's just real close to my heart. I love hunting.
You said it wasn't gonna get political?
I'm sorry.
It got political.
I'm sorry.
He shot a guy in the face.
I love hunting.
I don't know if that was just too inside, like insider jokes or whatever, but I don't know. It was just so funny. It felt a little like old school comedy sketch to me. And Randy Hollywood was a character that I made our first time in St. Louis. I didn't really go anywhere, but I remember he interviewed the character of Randy Hollywood interviewed Laura Bell Bundy. Do you remember that?
I do. And I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, she had a couple characters that she did. And I feel like you were like, yo, I got characters. Well, let's do that character thing. And that's kind of where it started, right?
I've got another one. I do think I wanted to make mention of this, that we're at the Fox Theater, which is a theater where they played movies. I think when it first started back in maybe the early 20s or something like that, they played movies. It was a movie house, but now it's more of a live performance. So like musicals, theater, concerts, that kind of thing. So the fact that we're reviewing movies at the Fox Theater is funny to me. But we wanted to be local, and I feel like it just screamed Oscar awards. I don't know, those red chairs just like screamed Oscar awards to me. I love the aesthetic of that place, and I think it worked. So.
Thanks to our friends that let us go in, and I don't know, I don't want to say disrespect a historical landmark, but I feel like I made that joke. I don't know if you have it in this video, but I remember going, it's nice to be here at the Fox Theater where they don't show movies to talk about movies. I don't know if you have that. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling that, but
no, you're fine. I don't know if this is that one. I just picked another random clip, so we'll play that.
Okay.
We got a sponsor.
I know, I heard.
This Randy and Marv at the Movies episode is brought to you by the Pelican Bike. For Christmas or Mother's Day, she'll love it. It seems outdated. It was booked months ago. I never looked at it till now.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all right. Just use the promo code Randy and Marv at the Movies 2020 for the Fox Theater St. Louis.
I think it's actually STL. I think it's Randy and Marv at the Movies Fox Theater 2020.
Just type in something and they'll give you a discount, because I don't think they got a lot of traffic going to pelicans.com.
She's going to love it. I think this is my insurance card.
Wasn't this around the time there was a controversy in the Peloton bike too?
Yes. Yeah.
So we just messed up the name, and also like it was right when Peloton bikes were in like a heat of controversy, and we were like, is this possible?
They did a commercial, and it was like, I got my wife a Peloton bike for her birthday or Mother's Day or something like that, and they were getting a whole bunch of flack for it. So
perfect. We nailed it.
Next up, Clinton Marachino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
This was the movie that was named after me.
No.
Hollywood.
No. This movie is starring the dirty feet of young Hollywood actresses and the chiseled jawlines of Hollywood's highest paid white guys. What is this movie? Like, nothing happened in this movie until the last 15 minutes. I don't know why it is getting such acclaim. I would say, don't waste your time with this movie. Go see Pulp Fiction. Rent that at Blockbuster instead. Samuel L. Jackson's in that. He's a Jedi. It's a good movie. Pulp Fiction, not Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's not going to win.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's like, I think there was a little bit of controversy between you and I with those. I think the first year maybe I did watch a selection of those, but the second year I did not have time to watch the movies, and I feel like you were upset at me because I couldn't help with the writing. But I think it worked out where you were so educated on it, and I was just not. It's just not there.
It's very average person. Like, if anybody knows about Oscar movies, they're like in the small percentage, and more people would have been on your side of it. Like, nope, didn't see that one. You know what I mean? I don't remember any of the second year, but I do want to ask if you have the Joker.
Yes, this is by far, I think this is one of my favorites of all time.
I still use this profile picture.
Oh, you look like the Joker. And you messed it up. Great. One job. Let's talk about the Joker.
Got mime makeup on, like this small little. So funny. Love this stuff.
I don't want to get any makeup on my glasses.
Oh yeah, just hold them up like that. That looks good.
Thanks. An emaciated Joaquin Phoenix stars in this movie as the Joker.
This is the one with Wonder Woman because it's DC. You got Wonder Woman, you got Gambit, you got all the stars.
Stop. You're a moron. The Detective Comics Extended Universe does not cross over like that. It's not like the Marvel universe is so much better.
Still love Gal Gadot.
Me too. In this movie, a comic book movie, Joaquin Phoenix probably won't win because it's a comic book movie, and that is sad. This is a movie about mental health. This is a good movie. This is a movie that the world needs. And there's just all kinds of what do you call it? Controversy. And it's a clown.
You look good.
I know I look good. We're talking about Joaquin Phoenix. He did not look good in that movie, and that was the point he was trying to make. Joker is a serious commentary on the state of mental health in this earth. So, it should win, but it probably won't. I said Parasite is subtitles.
Yeah. Pretty sure it won. Pretty sure we were right. What was that?
I said it did win. That aged well.
Okay, good. And now we're about to see the Joker, Folie Les Deux, the sequel with Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Or I guess there's some question about that. As a comic book nerd who does have quite a few comics sitting very close to me right now from my childhood, I don't know what the hell they're doing over on the DC side of things, and I don't know if anybody does. But it's been a mess. In the meantime, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, if you have not seen it, you're a Hugh Jackman fan. You will love this.
Yeah, we have not seen it yet. We have, I think, in-laws are coming into town here soon, and a date night is in order for not only that, but also Twisters in 4D, which I did not know existed, but it's out there.
They're actually throwing cows at you in the theater now. Is that what's going down? It feels like that's the fourth
vibrating chairs and wind and water and all this stuff. I don't know.
All right,
my wife
you're
was
going
very into it. I'm like, I just kind of want to not get wet.
Do we get wet at the movie? Is that a thing? Weird. You have to ask that, but it's like a water ride now. That might be actually kind of cool. Water ride / movie experience.
Yeah.
Write it down. Randy and Marv at the movies, I look back on fondly, and I feel it is closest to the dream work that I wanted to do. Remember I said I had this like secret Saturday Night Live writer ambition? Like,
yeah,
that's probably the closest I ever got to not only showcasing my skills as like a character actor and a writer. I would, if I was still like, I want to do TV, I would put that in my tape. Like I would put that in my resume.
Yeah.
And again, Joey and Ben with the edits, like there's so many great moments that come out of nothing that those guys made. So absolutely love them. Before we dive into the big, like the couple of bigger project videos we had, you had a moment while we were in St. Louis the second time that I think you still look back on fondly as one of the biggest moments of your life. Am I right? In your flight with the Blue Angels is not only one of the best videos you ever made, but one of the best videos we've ever seen come out of what we do, and probably the best experience that you had during our run. Like think about the entire run of you and I as a show working together. Was this the best? I mean, and I'm talking specifically about things you and I did, so you can exclude your marriage and your kids because we know that those are the best things to ever happen to you. But when it comes to what we did, do you look back on that as like the pinnacle moment?
Yeah. I don't know about pinnacle, but it was definitely one of like, it will, when I am on my deathbed, I will look back in this moment and be like, that was a highlight of my life.
Oh, yeah.
It was, and it makes it even sweeter because I learned that wherever the Blue Angels go, and a little bit of backstory on this, wherever the Blue Angels go, they pick 2 media people. Because the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds are a recruitment tool, right? So they go to air shows, they get kids interested in planes and flying, and maybe one day they'll join the Air Force, the Blue, or the the Navy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so they want to get it out to as many people as possible. So they have media people submit. Usually it's news people that get it. I did this twice previous to the time that I actually got selected. And most notably was in Chicago when I was selected as an alternate. And I was so upset about it because I'm like, who in their right mind is going to show up on the day of their flight and be like, I'm sick, I can't do this. So I was just praying that the person got cold feet and they didn't want to do it. But they did it. I didn't hear anything that day. On my way home from downtown Chicago, I can see the Blue Angels off Lakeshore Drive practicing. And I was like, gosh, dang, it's just like rubbing it in my face. Boom. Flat tire. I get a flat tire on the Lancer on the way home. Now, leading up to that moment, there was this clause in the Blue Angels contract that said you needed to be below 214 pounds. And it's just basically the ejector seat may not work properly if you're over that. And I think at the time I was like 225 or 230 or something. So we had this whole thing on the air where I lost a bunch of weight. Super not a good idea. But on that last day, Bama or somebody had brought me a box of donuts. So here I am waiting for a tow truck to come, eating a donut, watching the Blue Angels fly by and just rub it in my face that I was not selected to go. But I kind of got the hang of it. And in St. Louis, again, we had support. We had an amazing team in St. Louis when we first got there. I will give this all the credit to Rachel Cook, our promotions director at the time, who was a superstar. She knew her stuff. She was, I every once in a while, I'll message her on Facebook and be like, hey, I miss all the good things that you did. But she made a PowerPoint and I was like, make sure to include every time that I've ever been on Show Me St. Louis. So they see that I've been on TV and then they might select me. Well, they eventually did. They selected me and I was chosen to go on this amazing ride. I'm not going to play this whole thing because it's 45 minutes and I don't care that it's 45 minutes because it's for me. It's not for you.
I love that you say that out loud. Good for you. Good for you, man. Take every opportunity to do something for you if you can. Absolutely.
I wanted the documentation of this so I could go back and ride whenever I wanted to on the internet, but I'll play just a couple snippets from it.
But today is a very special day because I was picked to ride inside one of the Blue Angels aircraft, the FA-18 Hornet, that was actually produced and manufactured right here in St. Louis. So I'm unbelievably excited. Will I puke? Will I pass out? All of these things are factors. So let's go get a briefing real quick.
I'm Rob. I've been in the Navy 11 years, this month actually. So
we sit down. It's me and I think the other guy that got picked was like a superintendent or a vice superintendent of one of the St. Charles school districts or something. He's an older gentleman. And I'm like, are you sure? Because this is strenuous. So we're going through all the protocols and everything and we're learning and then we get in and I'll go from the takeoff here.
The engine's looking good. Here comes the afterburner. Wow. And there that is. There's 50 knots. There's 75. 100.
Big smile.
120. Here's 130. We're off the ground at 140. Gear flaps are coming up. And there's 220 knots. 250. 275. You ready to go?
Ready.
All right, ready, hit it. And there you go, we're climbing away.
Oh my gosh.
And it's going and check your microphone? I think it might have gotten pulled down with the G's.
Yeah, it did.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Oh yeah, your microphone, the G's.
I saw it as soon as it hit. It went whoop, and I was like, "My man is out."
It was so much fun. It's all of my personality now. So we went to the Blue Angels just flew in Chesterfield at the St. Louis Air or the I forget, the Spirit of St. Louis Air Show a couple months ago, and I went and we just sat there and watched these things. It's an unbelievable ride. Just going and seeing these things fly. And actually they had the Blue Angels documentary that just came out. I believe it was on Amazon, maybe Netflix. And Chewy, my pilot, was featured in this documentary. So I think he was on his way out, because I think you only get 2 or 3 years as a Blue Angel before you have to go on to whatever other duties you have in the Navy. But yeah, that was a huge moment. And sorry for the people that have seen that clip 4 million times. I apologize.
That's all right. No worries. And you got to believe that if you're one of those guys, that's probably a pretty cake gig, going from city to city and flying around in those planes. And like, I mean, not seeing combat, but still serving, right?
Yeah.
Like you're flying planes, but I remember, and tell me if I'm wrong, when it was in Chicago, that guy parachuted out and perished, right? Like there's still risk, like in doing those things. So don't get me wrong. Like I'm not being like, this is cake. I'm flying around. Beep, beep, everything's fine. They're still doing stuff, but also you can't stay there forever. There got to be other people who would come in and do that stuff. So
Yeah.
I could see why they'd be like, you only get to do that for so long.
They explain that all, and it's really cool how they trade in and out of like who are the rookies who are coming in, and then the captain moving out, those kinds of things. This was I'm not sure if she's still in it, but the first female pilot was a part of the squadron. Not too long ago. She still might be in it, but that was really cool to see. It's just, I don't know, it was life-changing for sure. I still think about that moment, and if it weren't for radio, that wouldn't have happened. So
at the very least, you got that.
Yeah. I got that. Thank you.
No, but it was a long-standing storyline on our show of Remy trying to get in with the Blue Angels. Like I want to say 5 years of a story arc. Remy trying a couple of times in St. Louis, trying a couple of times in Chicago, and then trying again back in St. Louis.
Yep.
And it finally worked out. Never let anybody tell you can't do something, right?
That statement has rung true a couple times in my life, and that Blue Angels thing is one of them for sure.
Hell yeah, I love it. I love to hear that. I remember, so we were, on our second run in St. Louis, a couple years in, we got to get to the pandemic portion. But before we do, because the pandemic really started the dominoes falling, that talk is going to quickly turn to how our second run in St. Louis, or I should say my second run in St. Louis, came to an end. So before we get to that, 2 more snippets. One is much in the vein of the thrift shop remix that we did with the Cardinals. We wanted to kind of recreate that. So we had that song and we were like, how can we take that to another level? We were working with Team Fredbird and we had the mascot, but what's bigger than that? We had the idea to create a holiday. Now, as we walked through the hallways of this station, they had another morning guy's name on a declaration from the mayor, right? You remember this? And I was like, let's get a declaration for the day baseball starts to be called the Cardinal Day. Not the Cardinals or the Cardinal the bird, but like it is important, imperative. This is like a cardinal sin, they would say, right? Very important, like the Cardinal Day. Maybe those 2 things didn't straight translate the way that I wanted them to, but that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to start this initiative so that we could somehow be behind making opening day an actual holiday. Even if it's just some bullshit declaration on a piece of paper that hangs on a wall, signed by whoever was elected in this time, that was the goal. Because here, I think it was Spencer was on the wall for some declaration like of a thing that they did. I could be wrong. I could be thinking about the wrong thing, but I remember going, well, if they can do that, maybe we can. And that's where we started the Cardinal Day line of thinking. We wanted to get baseball stars. We wanted to get into Busch Stadium. That's a problem. Getting into Busch Stadium and getting cleared to shoot video and just going around and like dicking around inside of Busch Stadium is not going to be cleared, right? Like you had to have someone with you. They were very clear about where you could go. Major League Baseball has its rules, right? Like certain things can and can't happen. So
they were okay with us being outside. Like they were very much on board with us being outside. But then when you go inside, all they think about is, will this person get injured? And are they going to sue us?
Yeah. And if we did get hurt, you know, that I can understand that. That's the legal side. On the other side of it, like, I don't have time to just hang out with you guys while you shoot a video all day at the thing and we're not getting any money off of this. So no, like I get that. ROI is an important thing when we're talking about making decisions. So no shade to anybody who had a part in that. It turned out good because we ended up winning a Missouri Broadcasters Award for Best Video for Radio because of this. The Cardinal Day. We got permission, not for Busch Stadium, but for the Anheuser-Busch Brewery grounds in the Clydesdales. We got to work with the team who preps, dresses, directs, rides, the full execution of the Clydesdales. When they're in a parade, this team puts them in a trailer, drives them across the country, puts on that green outfit, puts the little necklace on the Dalmatian, sets him in the seat next to him. That's who we were working with on this. And so we chose the site of this music video as the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, well regarded as a place where you can get one free beer. If you take the tour and you leave early, you get a quick free beer and then you can be on your way. That's a pro tip. If anybody's coming to St. Louis, take that free beer. I don't know if it's still a thing, but it was a thing whenever somebody came to town, you take them to the brewery tour, you get a free beer, and it's not beer that's everywhere. It's like some of that exclusive beer. At least it was. I'm outdated at this point.
You got to take it's called the Horses Tour. The Horses Tour, you only go see the horses, the stables, and then you go directly to the beer. I don't know if they
you're right
anymore, but
you're right. It was a 2-part because they had like beer school where they would take you upstairs and teach you how they did like this berry beer and you would sample different beers. So we wrote the Cardinal Day in like under the direction of how can we get this to be a holiday and who can we get to make the biggest impact? The Wiz. That's who we can get. The Wizard. We knew somebody who knew somebody who knew something about it and got a hold of Ozzy. Ozzy Smith came into the studio and shot with us. Do you have this video?
I do.
Maybe we should just play it at this point and talk about kind of what happens or how it went during or after.
Yeah.
Can I first preface with, I think this is a terrible song and I hate listening to it.
Well, now I'm going into it with different ears. Mason.
Let's go. No, it's my fault. It's the writing. It's my fault on the writing. It was like the thrift shop thing where I was like, oh, just do that again. And then when it was all said and done, we were in production listening to it the 35th time. I was like, not a good hook. Not a great, could have done better. Sorry, go ahead, bud, if you got.
Today, I'm happy to be here to announce that after decades of fans calling into work, after years of people missing out on meetings, we are here today to celebrate and declare the first day of the baseball season in St. Louis an official holiday, the Cardinal Day.
Day. We'll be at Busch Stadium anyway, so we might as well make this a holiday. Coming out of hibernation.
Nation bundled up for spring training, waiting on the first pitch. How many more days remaining?
I'm a Bush, never fails. Gotta see the Clydesdales. You can find me in the stands, cold bud in my hand.
Why do we beat around the bush? Nobody wants to go to work, man. I'm leaving at lunch as long as my boss ain't a jerk.
If you come into our house, expect annihilation. This is our year. Where you at, Cardinal Nation?
Wait all winter for the Cardinal way, so let me off work for the Cardinal day. We'll be at Busch Stadium anyway, so you might as well make this a holiday. From the shores of the mighty Mississippi
to the other shores of the mighty Mississippi,
we love this game and we love this team.
And we must spread the word to all of Cardinal Nation.
Let us celebrate the one thing that connects us all here in St. Louis. The one thing that brings family and friends together. It allows us to set aside our differences for the love of our team, our nation, Cardinal Nation.
Wait all winter for the Cardinal way, so let me off work for the Cardinal day. We'll be at Busch Stadium anyway, so you might as well make this a holiday. Sorry, gonna miss that meeting. Wait all winter for the Cardinal way. Calling in sick for the Cardinal.
I can make out that test, right, Professor?
We'll be at Busch Stadium anyway, so you might as well make this a holiday. Hope you weren't expecting that package. Wait all winter for the Cardinal way. I'm gonna miss school.
Your garbage isn't getting picked up today.
We'll be at Busch Stadium anyway, so you might as well make this a holiday.
We had shirts made that said the Cardinal Day. We got to ride on the actual
hitch.
Deer. What was it called?
The hitch.
The hitch. Yeah, like that stuff. And maybe if you're outside of St. Louis, you're like, what's the big deal? You rode on a buggy with some horses. Like those are the Clydesdales. Those are not just horses. That's that's that opening day at Busch Stadium Clydesdale thing. That's that big parade. They bring out the Clydesdales for like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, like those.
Yeah, they fly them all over the world. I guess they were telling us that when we were there that day, that they'll fly them to Japan or they'll fly them to wherever for parades, and if they've got sports teams or whatever, that we think of AB as being a St. Louis thing, and it is, but it's worldwide, and they'll go to events all over the country. I think that day when we showed up for that shoot, it finally clicked for me how big of a deal this was, because the groomers and all the people that get the horses ready had been there for like 2 or 3 hours before we showed up to braid the hair, to put all the accoutrement on the horses and everything. And I was like, wait, like for us?
This is a real thing.
This is happening.
The little
Maybe
ribbons.
a little too much. Like I feel bad because you're doing all this, but like I think that video might have been the pinnacle of this era of St. Louis.
It was for sure. We won an award, Missouri. What was it? A Missouri Broadcaster Award, video for radio. Wasn't that? I think it was hanging out in the office. Are you looking for it? Are you looking for it? Because you don't have it.
Do you have it?
I do.
Oh, okay. Because I have some award. I don't know what it is though. There she is.
So this sat in our office for a year, 2 years, right? If anybody's going to come looking for it, you know where to find it.
I don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I feel like Kasey and I won an award for like social media or something like that. And it sat in our boss's office for like 3 or 4 weeks, and we're like, "Oh, somebody win an award?" They're like, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's yours." I was like, "Okay, thanks."
Sounds right. Yeah,
Thanks,
sounds about
bro.
right.
Oh, sorry, none of the other big shows in the building won an award this time around, so we didn't want to make a big deal of it. Oh, okay, cool.
Sounds exactly right. Sounds on point.
Yeah.
And we'll get to a little bit of that here as we get to wrapping up the episode. But that, I feel like the same thing. Not the pinnacle of our video stuff that we did there. It can't get much bigger when you're talking about St. Louis than Ozzie Smith, Budweiser, Clydesdales, and the first day of baseball. I think we were, and they gave us the keys to the Budweiser campus. We were up in under construction areas to get crazy views of the brewery. Like and we met Mike Shannon's son. By the way, rest in peace, Mike Shannon. Haven't said that yet. I think we lost him. We haven't kind of talked about it, but we met his son and chatted with those folks. They were always great. Everybody at Anheuser-Busch and the Cardinal organization were always fantastic people to work with. That definitely no regrets on anything we did on that side. Other than how it went back to haunt us in Chicago. That's the only thing, only regrets for that. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
The street name. Do you remember what the street name was that goes in between the brewery? It starts with a P, I think. We went up and down that street a couple times, and I remember like workers coming out and watching us go up and down the street with the Clydesdales, because it didn't happen that often. At least that's what I was led to believe, that this was a very special thing to be happening. And I'm sure that it costs AB a certain amount of money every time they want to dress up the Clydesdales and everything to do this. But that was a huge time, because we had a team that knew what they were doing. We've talked about team a couple times in this podcast series, and we've talked about people that have helped or tried to help or whatever. Every single person on this team to get this video done was A+, like top tier. We had an events team at the station, 2 people that any big event that anybody was throwing on, Jingle Fest was one of them, you know, all the big events that the stations would throw. They led that. And it's because there's so many things that go into those that, your regular promotions director doesn't need to be worried about all of the other stuff. Well, after that video, and I don't know how long after, but they started letting people like those go. They started axing those departments, and that's when we kind of started to see these big high production value kind of videos go away, and everybody becomes strained and strapped because there wasn't resources anymore. We didn't have those resources to go to. But I remember showing up and everything was laid out. We had a shoot schedule, my guy. We had a schedule.
Yo, like it's a real thing, right? Like it's a professional video shoot.
I didn't make it. I didn't make the shoot schedule. Somebody else did. It was amazing. Show up at AB at this time. We got shooting this time. Clydesdales at this time, and then we're out. It was so amazing. And that's the type of like environment that I thrive in. And that was it.
It was a testament to the talents of those guys that worked in that department. So one last video that those guys helped with, and this was a big one, because I remember it took months, if not a year, to get some of the special effects in this one to come out, because you remember this was, and again, bless his heart, Joey is a brilliant editor, a brilliant video mind, and he had all this stuff he wants to do, but that takes time. And this was not a priority project. This was a narrative, like a storyline that we did when Baby Shark came out. We were like, this is the biggest thing ever. We need a Mason and Remy kids song. And we started brainstorming. We were on the air like, what do kids like? What can we do? Unicorns. All right, sounds good. We like unicorns. Let's make a unicorn song. And let's teach them something too, because it was like Baby Shark, do, Mama Shark, do, right? Like it was, you would still learn like, I don't know how many sharks there were or something like that. But in this, we wanted to count. We were going to teach counting, right? Like we're addition and subtraction, and so we tried to find a way to cross over these sharks, or these Baby Shark thing, with what we wanted to do and make the unicorn song. And that was going to take a lot of special effects. And like a year prior to this video actually finally being seen, we were on a green screen wearing dumb stuff. I remember the shoot. And then a year later, we finally got the video back. Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, the unicorn song.
Let's go.
One unicorn running down a rainbow. Unicorn, and then a friend joins. Unicorns running down a rainbow. Unicorns, and then a friend joins. Unicorns running down a rainbow. Unicorns, and then a friend joins. Unicorns running down a rainbow. Unicorns, and then a friend joins. Unicorns running down a rainbow. Unicorns, and then a friend joins.
pause real quick.
Running
Sorry.
down a rain.
There's like a moment back there where there are skulls in a gear and it's background, like it's background stuff. And I think this all started as like, it's going to be hilarious. And does it get dark?
I don't know. I talked to Joey about the skulls in particular, and I was like, that's a little weird. And he was like, they're not gonna know. And I was like, okay. I was just happy to have it at this point, I think.
I think at a moment there was like, this is gonna get more and more demonic. I thought like it was just gonna just devolve into weird stuff. Cause look at this weird that hat, that unicorn head that somebody had. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue,
Well,
please.
Here's the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then there were 10.
All right, all you little unicorns, come down off that rainbow before it gets dark. Your horn's gonna get cold.
Unicorns jumping off a rainbow. Unicorns. And then there were 9 unicorns jumping off a rainbow.
You kind of understand where this is going, right?
Unicorn jumping off a rainbow. Unicorn. And then there were 9.
It's me rubbing my nipple. and by the way, the original thing was this is a kid's song, and it ends with me in a helmet rubbing my nipples. Like, love him, but I just don't think the focus was there in the end of this. He was like, I just got to get this thing done, and this is what we're doing. But we pressed for like a year to get that done. Meanwhile, he's got actual projects and things that people are paying for to get done, and we're like, but what about the unicorn song?
Yeah. Yeah,
missed the mark, unfortunately.
It was fun, and it's so funny because I remember playing it for my kids the first time, and they were younger, and they didn't understand it, and they didn't get it. But now they will request it. They'll say, "Can we see the unicorn song now?"
Shut
9
up.
and 7. I think it's just like, have you seen Inside Out 2 yet?
Not the new one, no, not the new one.
There's such a great. There's a couple great moments. This is not a spoiler, but you know how there's all these additional emotions and things this time.
Yeah.
Well, there's a part where this little old lady comes out of the back and she's nostalgia, and they tell her to go away. It's not time yet. She's 12 years old or whatever. They gotta go away. And so I'm assuming that that's kind of what's entering is a little bit of nostalgia from their younger selves.
That's so funny.
But they'll request it every once in a while. It's pretty funny.
Being less than 10 and still feeling nostalgia is hilarious.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, that's and maybe we were just ahead of our time. So it's still possible that one day it'll pop off. Maybe one day.
Maybe because
Probably
I think that one video for them made them all millionaires.
That Baby
The
Shark
Shark
thing?
Song.
Yeah, for sure. They're doing okay.
One video.
Yeah,
to
right.
rule them all.
Yeah. But things got weird. And I mean, when I think about all the things that we did, I think we've covered a lot of the big ones. But the next biggest thing that I think happened while we were in St. Louis was the pandemic. When I vividly remember being in the studio and watching the news and saying on the air, this feels like the start of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I remember these moments of not taking it seriously. I remember moments of taking it too seriously. I remember being made fun of for like how we handled it. Not necessarily like we as a show, but like just off the air interaction with people. Because Missouri and Illinois had very different COVID laws. I lived in Illinois. You did too, right?
Yep.
But we worked in Missouri. Does this seem weird to you right now that they printed off a note for us so that we could go to work?
I think a lot of the essential employees and everybody who said they were essential, it's like, I work at a pet shop. I need to take care of these pets. I'm an essential worker. You know, those kinds of things.
But like I just look back on it and go, wow, what a weird time.
It was so weird.
Especially to cross in between those two states.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew how to be. Nobody knew how to react. Nobody knew what to expect, you know, or I remember I think the catalyst for, oh, this could be something big is when they canceled St. Patrick's Day
yeah,
in Dogtown and downtown, and they canceled those parades. And then in those next 2 weeks, being talked to about maybe me being at home while you're at the studio. I remember this weird moment in the beginning where like I'm outside on my back porch and we had a TV set up out there, and on CNN is like a death toll count.
Yeah, it was a weird time, man.
Yeah. But even before that, as a radio show, we had to kind of make some content surrounding this. So the Corona vlog was born.
Were we, and correct me if I'm wrong, were we still doing afternoons at this time?
Yeah. At the beginning of
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's something that changed.
That changed. Yeah, that changed quickly after every radio station, every media brand, and all the events people started just losing money hand over
They
fist.
started realizing there were no more concerts. There were no more live events. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to play this just to kind of give a little bit of a sentiment about how it felt. This is day 2 of the Corona vlog.
Oh no, day 2. They literally told us to make vlogs.
You sent me an attachment.
What are you doing?
What do you mean, what am I doing?
Why are you so
Oh,
close to me right
sorry.
now? What's wrong with
I
you?
apologize.
Hey, Mason and Remy, quarantine vlog, day 2. We still have to come to the station because we might have to pass along important information. Do I have to yell? Do you think I have to yell? Can you hear me from that far? I mean, you don't have to get close. What are you doing? Okay, so we want to tell you what it's like to be here during this time because we're down. There's like 20% of the people that actually work here are here. It's only essential personnel.
So you can kind of tell we don't know how to act. In fact, everybody thought it was something bacterial or something that could be on door handles or on hands or whatever. And I remember sanitizing groceries, going to the grocery store. All the canned foods were like gone. It was just a weird time. Nobody knew how to act or what to do. And
it was the toilet paper shortage that happened. Where no one could find toilet paper. And this is the interesting thing too, is that like, if you're not looking outside of your bubble, you don't know what's happening. Like if you were in Florida, you got a very different, I guess, instruction than those in Illinois. And Missouri was like Florida. So like not a lot to discuss. Oh yeah, there's a pandemic like that got declared, but also here's what's going on locally. You know what I mean? So they just kind of like didn't focus a ton on it. So for whatever reason, I was able to find toilet paper in St. Louis, but not on the Illinois side. So I remember like buying toilet paper at the grocery store by the station because I did not want to do the show from home because I thought the show would sound terrible. I'm just going to be flat out honest. And during this time was when they started to make these calls, right? Like about, hey, we're seeing concerts aren't happening. We're seeing live events aren't happening. It means live remotes aren't happening, which means advertising isn't happening, which means bars aren't open, which means revenue is down, which means cuts. And correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe we had discussed it when we came on board, but the morning show, right? Bud and Broadway were let go early in the pandemic, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And then we got the call to go in there. So back in mornings and now on this station that had rebranded and really no events, no concerts. That big party that we always talked about that happened every summer that we wanted to go to wasn't there. And suddenly there was nothing. These COVID vlogs, these Corona vlogs or whatever we called them, like we had an intro for them. It feels so wrong now.
Yeah.
Like I look back, like, were we celebrating that? I can't tell, but that was the directive. That was what they were telling us to do. And correct me too, if I'm wrong in this time, but our boss was had also departed. The guy that hired us had left.
Yeah. He moved to a different company. I believe they moved back to, I think he was on the
up to the West Coast,
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And they had moved. So we had management change. We had a morning show change. Just lots of stuff going on at the same time as people kind of, like you said, they made decisions, things started to happen, and a lot of it was cuts. And I think those cuts just started a cut train. And, currently it's down to, I think, 2 people
that work at that station now, you mean?
Yeah. So it's very much like that kind of started. And I think in a way, 2020 and the pandemic and everything was the catalyst for a lot of radio's decline very, very quickly. I mean, we're talking advertisers just pulled the plug, gone, done. Our endorsements went from, I don't know, maybe we were doing like 7-ish endorsements, which is a healthy amount of endorsements, to like 1 or 2, which also means a decline in our income as well.
Yep.
So there was a lot of stuff happening.
100% that all these events stopped, all the advertisers stopped. And when you think about like, hey, everybody stay home. We're all working from home. We're going to school from home. Where do most people listen to the radio? In the car.
Mm-hmm.
And now nobody's in the car. Of course, listenership fell. You have so many more great alternatives for entertainment when you're at your house. So it makes sense that there's just no revenue. There's no advertising, so there's no money to pay people to do the job. So it makes sense that radio shrinks. Some radio shrinks, right? Like you would see cuts on some stations like ours, and yet other stations are unaffected. As a matter of fact, during this time, I remember seeing things go from us, like endorsements for window companies, suddenly going over to a lower performing station in the building. However, you can then fudge the numbers of your budgets to say, oh, they're getting more advertising than this station. These guys must not be doing well. So in my mind, salespeople were selling the clients. No. They're selling the clients on which station they want to use. So whether it's our station or this other one that they were starting to build up, now that management had changed, directions had changed on other properties on the station, people were being hired, fired, let go, other people were being put in place. From where I was sitting, I was watching our endorsements go to another station and watching them tell us that we are not hitting the marks that we should be. While I'm watching them give those video people that we were working with, I'm watching them tell them that they are more prioritized for other stations. And it felt like we were getting our Achilles tendon sliced. And we were not being set up for success. Could anybody be set up for success in the pandemic? I don't know. But knowing that we were brought in under we really care about talent, we want to work with you guys, we want to help you guys. And as the pandemic approached and increased, all of that went away. And it was just us again all of a sudden.
If you sold recreational vehicles, then yes, your sales increased.
Yeah, if you had campers. Yeah, we did a camper.
Boats, campers, all that kind of stuff.
Alcohol. Campers and alcohol were the only things that were still happening. People who wanted to get away from people, and then people who mentally wanted to get away from people. You know what I mean? And I feel like the only live events we did during the pandemic were like tequila shots downtown at Ballpark Village, because they had just invested millions of dollars into Ballpark Village and they couldn't not use it. It felt like they needed to get the word out about it. And it was scary. So they were still like, yeah, come on in for dinner. You know what I mean? The tables are 6 feet apart. Come on in. Can
I play one of these Corona vlogs that we had talked about, obviously, how big the Cardinals are in St. Louis, and how much of a thing it is for opening day. Well, opening day happened, but nobody was downtown.
That's right.
And I went downtown to kind of scope the scene, and this was that Corona vlog for the day. This is day 16, I think.
Today would have been a very special day.
Cardinal Day, right?
Wait, Mardi Gras?
No, the Cardinal Day, my guy. This would have been the day that Cardinal baseball returned to St. Louis.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's like down there.
So everything has changed downtown. Not only is there nobody down here for opening day, there's a whole new structure here. Everything is different. I thought I'd come out to Busch Stadium today just to feel it, to feel the vibes. Oh, man, this was all supposed to happen today. Here we are. So
you can hear a car's brakes in the background.
Yeah,
just how quiet it was.
An eerie time for
Anybody
a big
who's been
city.
to opening day downtown, I wouldn't have been able to walk in that area because there'd be so many people going into the gift shop of Busch Stadium. It had all changed, and we have those stupid cutouts that sat in the
Oh,
park.
that's right. Yeah, they did the cutout thing where they put them in the stands. Like you could, here's the worst part. Like they charged for it. We couldn't. We paid to get a cardboard cutout of ourselves made. I think I still have it around here somewhere of me in that shirt. And this was also around the time where you could tell, I believe, from my perspective, I could tell they did not care about this radio station anymore. I think we did this rebrand. So think like when we would have a new station come on the air, they would put tons of money into what's called stunting. They would like try and make a noise, and the station would play, I don't know, Christmas music or some song over and over again just to get people to go, what's going on here? They just let us they did not give us any direction. Is that right? No direction, right?
It was weird. It was like you said, there needs to be a lot of pomp and circumstance around.
This is a well thought out strategy that they would normally have invested marketing people into. Like I said, we had a whole meeting about it. Entire staffs were ready for this. And then the pandemic, in a little bit of time, we take over.
Yeah.
And they just said, yeah, do whatever you want.
It was like shouting into a vacuum. It was crazy because nobody's in their cars. Nobody's really listening. We didn't really think about it wasn't really a good plan to do it. So,
you know what else wasn't really a good plan? Was losing the heritage call letters of that radio station. When we had them rebrand the first time, when we came in and upset the market the first time and they said, let's try this, that was not a good idea because everybody still called the station by those call letters. And so we went back to those call letters.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any video of that moment or not, but I don't think we need it because nothing happened. That's okay. Because we turned on the camera and I think I got out scissors and I cut down the banner. I remember being so blown. My mind was blown that we were doing nothing. They were giving us nothing. And we were rebranding one of the biggest heritage stations in the city. Like that was a clear sign that it was over.
Yeah.
For me. I remember thinking I don't know what they're doing. And I don't think anybody's doing anything. Because like I said, they let go of the guy who knew what the strategy was. And now some other guy was doing it. And he canceled every meeting we'd have. If we had 6 months of meetings, we had maybe 2. And the other ones were canceled. I don't know if that's because that person did not care about the station, did not have the bandwidth, did not have the knowledge. But either way, mistakes were made. And the strategy of, I'm just going to let you guys do what you do. And if it doesn't work is a cop out of a management strategy. Like if you're going to hire us under we're a talent first company and say that we'll help. And then it ends with, I don't know, figure it out. Well, maybe there should have been a meeting in between there somewhere to kind of work on that. But
I think there were meetings here and there, but it was always like, this is my favorite thing. This actually started in Chicago. What's your one thing? What's the one thing you guys are known for? What's that one thing? And it's like, again, this is very much akin to make a viral video. Like you don't just have that one thing. There's thousands of things that culminate into what our brand was and who we were. And it just feels like it was just stripped and stripped and stripped and stripped and stripped to the point where making things wasn't as fun anymore. We didn't have the resources. Nobody wanted to help or coach or be there. It did very much. It was like we returned to those first couple years of our radio existence together, but we were burnt. Out. You know what I mean?
Pandemic was starting and craziness was going on in the world. And in the middle of all that, Kasey joined the team. And if I recall correctly, Kasey was doing part-time stuff and then kind of did some traffic stuff here and there. And then the traffic guy went away and then Kasey, she was just doing traffic and then did some voice track stuff and then became a full-on player on the morning show. brought her into the team and welcomed her in and wanted her to be a big part of it. And I started to look back like afterwards and go like, I'm pretty sure that because we were so far out of the scope of the guy that was in charge of things, like they put Kasey there to kind of be able to keep tabs on us, to know what we're doing. That's kind of what it felt like in the end. Because spoiler alert, I would come to be let go in 2021 and Remy and Kasey would continue together. But a little bit to get to, because we're almost to the end of this era, this episode. The pandemic happens. Kasey joins. We're doing these like unpaid events and weird stuff is happening where we can't go out places. One of us, you know, they're telling us we can't come to work, but somebody has to come to work. They put us in mornings, and I don't want to sacrifice the sound of the morning show by having us all be remote. So I went to work every day through the pandemic. I went into that station every day. I Lysoled the shit out of everything I own every day. You know what I mean? I carried that Lysol and those wipes with me. Like, and to be fair, we're all talking into the same one of these. There was so many weird things that happened in here, but we would try to get like these. I remember the battle, you know, where we would pit Illinois versus Missouri, and we would come and do all these different things, and we would have, you know, different on-air bits where we would make bets and these kind of things. And in the meantime, by the way, our CEO is holding all staff meetings while we're in a pandemic. And and tell me if I'm wrong. Did we take a pay cut?
Yeah.
So
which was, I think pretty customary around the radio, and a lot of jobs and a lot of radio people took pay cuts, but it was voluntold 14% or some percentage of our paycheck or whatever. But I will never ever forget. And sorry if I'm mowing your lawn here. But I will never forget getting emails from the leader of our company talking about how her kids were getting married and her dog needed to meet my new dog, and our dog is getting trained, and we're sending her away to get trained and all this stuff. And all I wanted to respond was, know your audience.
Read the
It was
room.
the most tone deaf email I've ever, like, you're fine financially, you're good. You're born into this thing. The money's there. But for the rest of us, 14% or whatever the percentage was, made an impact on our lives, very much so. And I still have screenshots of I took screenshots of these emails for this moment right here that I'm not actually going to deliver on, but it was just wild. It was so tone deaf. And that just carried on from there.
And week after week, as this started in March, April of 2020, and would continue for a year plus. Out of one side of their mouth, they're going, "Hey guys, we're having a tough time, and if we want to keep the jobs, 14% income, we're gonna have to take that back." But then on the other side of her mouth, she's going, "We're paying someone to train our new dog." Like, are you seriously just said that to us? Like you're brushing your nails with the cash that you're taking from us. Like, I mean, I understand business is business, but read the room 100%.
I know that maybe the sentiment was like, everything is kind of like, I'm trying to brighten the mood. I'm trying to add joy to this terrible situation, but it just came off in like the wrong way. And I know that 99% of the employees that worked under this person wanted to say something, but couldn't, because again, in radio, when you say things like this, your job is on the line. There's no checks and balances system there. So you say something, you are very likely to get let go or to be talked to or whatever for insubordination. Or I'm obviously this is a hypothetical situation, but like, that's why people don't talk like that, you know?
Fear of retaliation is a real thing, and there's no established paper trail of processes So there is no chance that anything would exist to save you. You know what I mean? They can do and say whatever. There's not even contracts. You know what I mean? They just get you with an agreement that makes you think that it's a legally binding agreement, you know? All this has changed now, probably years after I'm out of radio. So what do I know? And whoo, thank you, Jesus. But as I remember these moments in the end, while all that's happening, we are still trying to create content and we are still trying to entertain. So we're still playing these games and we're doing these bets, which was a thing that's the one, I feel like the one piece of feedback that our new boss had given me. Hey, this works next door, so you guys should do that.
Yeah.
Again, more people telling us to do things that other shows do, which first off is like already just starting off, you're approaching a vampire with garlic and going, hey, try this. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you should, does this
wooden steak?
Yeah. Like, oh, no, I'd like to live. Thanks. But no, here, try this garlic. And so they were like these bets. They work good on these other stations. So, and you could tell like at this time, the rock station, the classic rock station, the sports station, and now us, and then the other station, we're all making these wacky bets and doing wacky stuff. Do you have any of the videos of those things? Because I know that we basically did the big, like, I think it was the bi-state battle, and I think we just called it the battle at one point.
Yeah. I've got I'll play a couple short snippets of so here's me paying up on a bet.
By the way, middle of winter in Missouri is like 50 degrees. So it's not like, no, but it was cold. I remember that. This was cold. And Remy, the bet was to stay in the cold water for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
If you hear that sound, it's the ice on the top of the water making a bunch of noise. Somebody started the timer, right?
Yep. It was so cold.
It was.
I'll never forget it. It felt like knives. And then it's weird because your body starts to warm yourself. It's like a weird warming feeling.
I think we were also having and like many times, I think you and I were butting heads in this moment.
Yeah, I don't know what we would have been arguing about at the time. It was a pretty straightforward video. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of like creative differences that could have happened in that moment. I don't know. I think it turned out okay. I think what was this dance video is coming up.
Oh, that was another one. Yeah.
I don't know who the punishment was for though. Was Kasey involved in this? Was it her punishment?
I think so. I think that it was a dance lesson, wasn't it? From Remy or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Ben and Joey actually helped with this one, so it's pretty well produced.
Yeah.
You know, I think the biggest question that people have is, are we human, or are we dancers, or are we just giraffes? You know what I mean? I think we're gonna see a lot of giraffes today, but that's okay, because this is Remy's masterclass. I know the owner of this studio very well, and today we will be teaching Kasey, who is getting a free scholarship because she's on the show. Okay, so she'll learn 5 moves that I have made up myself in contemporary dance. So, let's do this.
I don't know, Remy made me come here today because he thinks he's some sort of Sparky Pilastri. I was a dancer when I was younger and did choreography for most of my life, so I don't exactly know what he thinks he's doing, but I thought this was a joke. I don't know why I'm here.
Hello. Hello.
You're on drum.
I'm on drum.
Let's go. So we go through this video. There's some funny moments, but I feel like this video is kind of like the beginning of the end for you. I don't remember what was happening at the time, but I remember planning this video, but for some reason, I don't think it was, I don't know. There was no part for you.
Yeah.
In
That
my
had
mind.
happened a lot. Like, and I think it was because of the way I interacted with folks. Like I think people had just had enough of me. Probably you and Kasey both. Like at this point, I think I'm starting to break down and have like a little bit of a midlife crisis. Like I can see this is coming to an end. Like I'm trying to save it. I think at this point I'm suggesting maybe this can be Kasey, Remy, and Mason, and I'll just board op. Like I'm starting to kind of like cash out.
Yeah.
And I remember us having to try and find ways to fit me in to a lot of things. Like Remy's package of the week. I remember going like, "Can I be in every time you do this?" Because I want to be a part of it. So yeah, I don't think I had much to do there, except I maybe was needed to like hold a camera or some stuff. And then yeah, you handed me the drum and I just kind of hung out just to be there, just so that I wasn't not a part of it.
Yeah. And I in this moment, I do want to apologize for that. I feel like this is where you'd sent me that big long apology. Was that last year? A couple years ago or whenever it was. And I had said in my response to you that I feel like a lot of like we were both responsible for the rift that happened between us, but I was also responsible for that because I feel like there was a lot of rebellion that I kind of probably pushed back subconsciously a lot. And it felt like you hear teenagers who rebel against their parents as they're coming up through the high school years and just like push back just to push back. And I think that I had started to do that too. And there was so many factors in that last part that played a role in, and I think the main one was just burnout and then not knowing what was coming next. Like what was radio becoming? How would we ever financially recover from this? how would radio come back after such a devastating blow with the pandemic? And spoiler alert, it hasn't. But I think it was there's so many different things going on mentally. I was also in therapy at this time.
We might as well say that you and I went to couples therapy during this time.
We did.
Like Remy and I were so deep in trying to figure this thing out that he and I saw a counselor together. And big shout to the company for taking care of that. Like that was the most showing of support I think we got, was when we said, "Hey, he and I are like having differences. We can either come to you, like our boss, or we can speak to someone else if the company will, allow it." But we wanted to make this thing work. Like we were trying to figure out how to make this work, you and I. Unfortunately, there's two paths you can take. You can handle that privately, and no one knows the difference, or you can kind of talk to the people about it and unfortunately indicate to them that you are having issues. So I think that we did the latter, and it probably did not help our case to keep our longevity there. But
Yeah.
we were trying, you know what I mean? And just like we talked about with Alabama, and you and I have talked about numerous times, everybody who works with somebody for an extended period of time is going to bump heads. And I think obviously we got past it, you and I. Maybe not in that moment, but now we have, whatever that was. I feel like we could have found it sooner, but we tried. We were trying in this time. So nothing to apologize for. All water under the bridge. We're all good. Life goes on. The art of the dance was a punishment. The polar plunge was a punishment. The tattoo.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to just outwardly
That's
laugh.
okay. That's okay. Listen, I have to wear this scar permanently now. And let me first frame this properly. I was so good at Mason versus Remy. I did not lose. Right?
We need to check the
Eventually.
tapes. We need to check the tapes. Do you have receipts?
I mean, how many bets did I pay up on?
That's
This was
true.
the one, and then I was out. So is it safe to say that at any moment I could have lost, and I had this in the bag for months? Like I was like, I'm going to get a tattoo. Because this is a way to make noise. And I think that people will it's a viral story. Like guy loses a bet, has to get tattooed. It's a viral story, right? It's just the first part of the viral story, folks. Hold on. So we go through the process. Do you have the video? Because I lost a week of games. I went and got it done. And I think we did a video. And by the way, this video you're about to see is the closest to the goal of what I have always had in mind for the show. This video is the closest. This and one other video, I think, if we're going to look at it, are the closest to what I really had hoped we'd have been able to achieve. But this is the tattoo.
It's not
Do you
real.
want to touch it?
No.
Guys, I just paid $100 for this. If it's not real, I'm going to be pretty upset.
Did it hurt? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it didn't feel great.
It is red in the foot. Like you can see that it looks like red and irritated.
Time-lapse video is now live on the Facebook page and on our Instagram if you'd like to see the actual tattoo being
time-lapse
done.
video?
Yeah, I shot a video while we were getting it done.
Shut up!
Oh my gosh.
That was not what I expected to
Have
happen
you been
right
keeping
now.
it moisturized like you should?
I'm very bad at keeping secrets, and this has been a difficult morning. I didn't wince. I didn't freak out. I was kind of okay with it. Yeah, it hurt. Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than I thought you were going to do.
It's a lot bigger than I thought,
It's
too.
like-
What are you talking about? This is an amazing publicity opportunity for our station.
No, it looks great. I'll say
looks
that.
really
Like,
good.
The very talented tattoo artist.
He went around it in white. It looks like a sticker on my arm. It really does.
That's why I said when you were,
Yeah.
you was like, "Is that real?" I was like, "No,"
No,
because
it's-
it looks like it was just like a stamp.
Nope, it's
That photo was everywhere.
It was. And let me tell you why. Because I got fired. Was it that day or the next day? That week. I got the tattoo that week
for sure.
and I was fired that week. So a little preface was I knew that this was going to happen. I knew I was going to lose. I knew I was going to get the tattoo. I went to the boss and I said, I'm about to do this. Are we cool? Yeah. No, I haven't heard anything that would say that we're not. And our contracts were going to come up here in a couple of months. And we were in the union. So there's like a 1 month, 2 month buffer before your contract's up where like you can kind of talk to other stations or you know that you're going to be re-signed. So I'd gone to the boss like, hey, I'm about to not only renew my lease, but I'm about to get the station tattooed on my arm. Are we cool? Yeah, I don't see any indicators on why we wouldn't be. All right, cool. For a little like behind the scenes, I did not renew my lease because I had a feeling. And it's a good thing I didn't because I saved thousands of dollars when my program director looked me in the face, let me get this tattoo, and then fired me the next week. He had every opportunity to say, don't do that. He had every opportunity to say, you shouldn't. So anyway, so I get through the bit, I do the thing, I get fired the next couple of days. Like that photo then gets picked up by the New York Post. I'm getting calls from other shows. I don't know if you even know this, Remy, because we didn't talk a lot after I was let go. I went into the meeting with the boss. The boss basically said, hey, we're not going to renew your contract. We're actually going to send you home with a little bit of severance here, send you home a little early. You get a couple of months pay, thanks. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it. I walked into the office with Remy. I said, hey, I just got fired. You're going to be great. I'll catch you on the flippy flop, and left. I vividly remember a phone call with you on the way home and going, it's going to be fine. You're going to be good. You're going to do great. You don't need me. You know what I mean? This is good. It's fine. Just trying to tell you, like, you're going to be all right. And now I needed to start thinking about my next steps. So yeah. And then in those moments, I started getting calls and emails. KMOX called me, like those guys down AM stations, TV stations, all those folks are calling me. And I vividly remember on my exit interview, signing the little document that says I cannot use this logo in anything in the future and going, it's on my fucking arm. How do I not show my arm for the rest of my life? Do I still have this tattoo? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm going to drag it out as long as I can. No, it's still up here. It's still up here. My cousin is a tattoo artist and has offered to cover it up. But the reason I never had any tattoos is because I don't like anything enough to get it tattooed permanently on my body. Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do to cover it up, but at this point, it's a reminder of a station that we destroyed and rebuilt, and a phase of my life that is behind me now.
Yeah.
So that's where my story in St. Louis ends. And probably where you think we should wrap up this episode now. They're getting long.
Yeah,
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about in these last final years of us. I guess these final moments of us in this episode. But I remember the mentor coming back at this point and saying, "Is this real or is this fake?"
Oh,
This
really?
is potentially the best radio prank of all time. If you were to get a tattoo and arrange to, quote, be let go a couple days afterwards, unfortunately, it was very real.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, it
I
was.
remember on your way out, you said something to the extent, or maybe you posted in a statement or something like, "I can still make noise." And in that moment, I was like, "Gosh dang!" Like, aside from the T-Rex thing that nobody knew about, that you finally made that viral video. You know,
Yeah.
it's just too late.
Well, I mean, and some would argue it was right on time.
Yeah.
Like, it's looking back now, you know, no regrets. I don't want to think that I would do anything different, because now I am finally living with my wife in a home that we own and not in fear of my job every day. So if that's what had to happen, okay. But this is where I believed, until maybe just a couple months ago, this is where I thought Mason and Remy died. This is where I thought this was over. This was me going, okay, well, and to be fair, before Mason and Remy, I did have a solo career for 10 years on the air and did fine. Like, just figured I'd go do some of that. I'll talk a little bit more about what happened after that in the next episode. Before we wrap up, was there anything from your side, like on that day or the days after that you want to talk about before we get into the next episode, of basically what that aftermath was like?
I just remember, I think I also felt kind of a weight lifted off my shoulders. But in the next moment, that weight came back, knowing that I was now in the position that you had been in for 12, 13 years or whatever, and had to be the ringmaster. And that became increasingly difficult. And we can talk about that too in the next episode. But I was very optimistic, as I am for the most part. But it was also very scary at the same time.
Yeah,
Because
shoulder
now we had to answer all those calls of, "Oh, where's Mason? What happened to Mason?" Because in radio, when someone gets let go, you don't tell them.
You just
Which
don't
is
talk
why
about it.
on the very front of this episode, in that news story, when I say something to the extent of like, "Oh, we just went up to Chicago for a little bit and then we came back to St. Louis." Well, we got fired in Chicago. That's why we came back to St. Louis. But the softer way to say that is what I said on the video. And it's funny, if you go to, like, I found that video on KSDK's YouTube page, and in the comments it's like, "So you got fired from Chicago?" Question mark. And it's like, yeah, that's how that happened. But
the comment section is always the truth section. I know nobody likes to
Exactly.
read it, but it's the truth section.
Yeah. But
so-
yeah, I was optimistic. We started to plan what the show would look like and thought we had support, but you know, that's where we go. We'll go to that in the next
What does
episode.
that mean? We'll find out coming up in the next episode.
And
And also,
lots more canceled meetings.
also, what happened, like, more in depth for Remy? What did I end up doing then after losing this show that we had worked on for 11 years? And what would Remy do with that new strategy and his new show and his new co-host? And how would Remy end up getting fired in the end? Spoiler alert. Find out in the next episode. No, oh, you didn't. Nope, just guns, just straight ammo, bang, pow, pow, just
No
guns.
tattoos.
The guy, I love it. Thanks for the chat, man. Always good to talk to you. We'll do it again maybe next week, and we'll chat about the actual, like, the ending of your time on the radio in St. Louis, and then who knows what the hell we're gonna do. We'll figure it out. But until then, thanks for listening. Follow us on the things. They're in the description. Appreciate you watching. The subby subs and the likey likes. All right. Bye.